Hello dear, Rose here, writer, director, etc. of this podcast audio drama, welcoming you to the third season of the Wessex dramas The Laodicean. This novel was the last of Thomas Hardy's Novels of Ingenuity trilogy. The story is a gentle romantic comedy set in a rather indecisive heiress's castle. I must warn you, Victorian intrigue, cross-purposes and architecture feature rather heavily in this tale. So throw on a tea gown, put your toes on the fender and tell the butler you are not at home, and let's dive into the drama.
Paula, wearing a large, pleated silk-lined hat, is walking along the corridor with Somerset, who is carrying a sketch pad and pencil. Charlotte is walking behind.
And Havel?
Paula shrugs brusquely.
I haven't decided to employ him. If I do, I shall take him around independently anyway.
She turns to Charlotte.
Charlotte, remind me later. Do hunt out a room for Mr. Somerset to draw up his proposals in, will you?
Yes, of course.
They step out into the bright sunshine of the leads and walk along on the inside of a parapet.
I was thinking of making a Greek court of that Cloister Garth affair, but you'd probably think me a Philistine for proposing it.
No,
If I was the genuine heir to this castle, you know, of Charlotte's family, perhaps I would think more properly, sort of medievally.
There is a sudden cry from Charlotte.
Paula! There's a handkerchief hanging from a window in the west turret.
Paula looks up at it, and Charlotte hurries over to the parapet and stares at it.
Oh, that's just mine. Sorry, I forgot to remove it.
Why?
Well, I opened the door, stepped in, and then fell down the non-existent stairs. I thought to tie it there to, find a rescuer.
Whom did you think to attract?
You.
Me? What? Personally?
She looks blushingly at him.
I hoped for anybody. I thought of you.
Paula smiles and looks away embarrassedly. Charlotte comes back across.
That must be where that poor man fell in years ago, and then starved to death, and then... What an escape, Mr. Somerset.
Somerset shrugs.
Well, it was only for the afternoon. Your footman, that very big one, came and got me out with a ladder.
Paula smiles.
Ah, Jenkins. I must reward him. I am so sorry that you injured yourself in my own home, Mr. Somerset. I must put a notice on that door immediately.
Oh, really? It was nothing. Just a little boredom.
Paula smiles and walks away.
Well, now, I thought with these ramparts we could perhaps...
Somerset opens his small sketch pad and starts to scribble, and Charlotte follows, looking back concernedly at the handkerchief. Paula is walking about various parts of the castle with Somerset, but without Charlotte. They are in lively conversation and often laughing and gesticulating. Paula is seen peeping over Somerset's shoulder while he sketches. She then withdraws quickly when he looks round at her admiringly. Paula holds one end of his measuring tape for him while he enters the measurements on his pad. Somerset takes her hand and runs it along a stone channel in a wall whilst explaining where it goes. They then suddenly become a little self-conscious and Paula slowly withdraws said hand. She blushes and smiles and then continues the walk. Somerset hangs back for a few seconds, admires her form and sighs. It is a beautiful day and the sun shines in the garden and the courts. The woods stretch away to the distance in a heat haze. 3 elderly labourers are squabbling whilst bent over in the corner of the rooftop next to a parapet. They are measuring out a cable, rolling it out from a drum and trying to work out where it goes down through the roof, pointing severally and scratching their heads. Somerset enters the open door and is surprised to see someone in the office in his suite of rooms. It is the photographer, Dyer. Dyer sees him and gets up.
Ah, Somerset. I believe that this is yours? From the architectural world?
He waves a cutout from a newspaper at Somerset.
Indeed, sir.
Somerset goes across and sits at his desk. There are 2 envelopes on it. Dyer sits down again.
Well, I think that perhaps I would serve your need for an assistant.
Are you an architect's draftsman?
I thought that you were a photographer.
I have some knowledge of the former, and affect the latter as a dilettante.
Somerset looks down at the 2 envelopes.
Would you give me a minute, please?
Dyer shrugs and gets out a snuff box, proceeding affectedly to help himself. Somerset rapidly inspects the contents of the 2 envelopes, scowls and casts them aside as being useless. Somerset looks up again at Dyer.
How would you measure the front of a building with the greatest accuracy and despatch?
Dyer shrugs airily.
Running dimensions?
And you've done this sort of work before?
Oh, yes. No problem. No problem at all.
Somerset looks at the 2 useless applicants' letters.
Well then, come up to the castle tomorrow. I'll meet you in the main court at 9.
Dyer gets up and nods.
Will do, Somerset.
He turns to go.
Toodaloo.
He walks out. Somerset watches him and then starts on sorting all of his papers out, sighing as he does. Through the window can be seen Dyer, who pulls out 7 other envelopes from his pocket, smiles up at Somerset's room, and deliberately tears these envelopes into little pieces. Dyer stuffs these envelope pieces into some shrubs, which he passes, opens his eyes widely in mock innocence, and then smirks to himself as he walks on. Dyer is working at a side desk, making drawings, and Somerset is sorting out some sketches at the big main desk.
You missed a dinner party for 18 last night. A grand affair.
Oh?
Yes, the young lady wore enough sapphires and opals for a queen, I heard.
I don't doubt.
Somerset sees a soft blue feather on his desk, picks it up and muses questioningly over it. There is a knock and Paula walks in. Somerset drops the feather back onto the desk.
Good morning, Mr. Somerset. I'd like to see what you're considering for that peristyle we discussed.
Somerset stands up and looks at Dyer.
Would you continue your work in the back office, please, Mr. Dyer?
Dyer nods knowingly, gets up and moves off through the door into the back office, closing the door. Paula sits down, picks up the blue feather and idly plays with it. Somerset sits back down as well.
I know why you didn't accept my dinner invitation. You thought that because it came late, you were only an afterthought. But you're completely wrong, as it was because my aunt forgot to give it to you. Then she went and posted it, which took too long, of course.
Oh.
Yes. And then I came up to your office to explain after tea, but you'd gone.
Somerset stands up again, moved.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes, and I'd asked everyone especially to meet my new architect, and you weren't there.
Oh, if I'd only known.
He stares in mute loss and appeal at the lady he now loves. Paula looks up in a playfully chiding manner at him.
You can only make amends by coming to my garden party on the 19th. You will, won't you?
She stands up and looks at him. Somerset smiles.
Yes, of course. Wild horses.
Or peristyle drawing?
She heads off to the door, and so Somerset reaches it quickly and opens it for her.
No, nothing. I shall be there.
He smiles earnestly into her eyes.
Good, then.
She gives a little smile and goes out. Somerset comes through the main door and joins Paula and her aunt and Charlotte, as they are wandering around inspecting the effigies and tombs. Paula looks up.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Somerset. Are you come to sketch the tombs?
No, I just popped over to condole with you regarding that scoundrelly anonymous article in the Dorset Echo.
Charlotte breaks in feelingly.
Yes, it's disgusting. Accusing Paula of barbarism just because she's installing electric lights and thinking of adding a Greek colonnade?
I'm not doing the colonnade now, anyway. I'm going only and completely perpendicular.
Her aunt leans in.
It's called Gothic.
Somerset nods and looks sympathetic. Paula's aunt and Charlotte wander off, back outside through the door.
I do think that this is even more reason for you to submit both Havel's and my drawings to the Institute of Architects, Miss Power, as a competition.
Paula shrugs reluctantly.
All right. I'll have the building steward write the particulars out for him.
She taps a recumbent alabaster statue of a woman.
I'd never have been thus accused if I'd been one of these.
She's quite perfect.
She's like Charlotte. I wish I was one of these.
What? A Distancy?
Yes. Sort of. It's dreadful to be denounced as a barbarian. I want to be romantic and historical, like in a Walter Scott novel.
She walks over to the large old pew, puts her hand onto the small pew next to it, and peers over the top of the old one.
If I were, I should have the old pew done up and sit here in state.
Somerset comes up to her and risks something. He puts his hand quietly upon hers.
Your family has that other nobility, the nobility of talent and enterprise.
Paula smiles slightly and gently disengages her hand.
No, I'll go and see what Charlotte and Auntie are doing. I'll leave you here.
She turns and hurries out. Somerset stands watching her retreat until a figure strolls out from behind a nearby column with his hands in his pockets. Dyer smirks at him.
I thought I left you doing those drawings.
Almost finished them. Just thought I'd come and look at some interesting monuments. And then found two very interesting people also looking at them.
Somerset frowns.
How dare you? And did you finish those measurements?
Dyer sighs whimsically.
Afraid not. I did badly in the morning and worse in the afternoon.
He grins and shrugs.
Mr. Dyer, I am dispensing with your services. Kindly leave your address and I shall send the check on to you. Your work, or rather the lack of it, has been most disappointing.
Somerset turns and walks away while Dyer smiles amusedly and puts his tongue in his cheek. There is a party of around 20 people in the drawing room, in pale, silk and gauzy summer clothes or white tie, drinking champagne, chattering and laughing. There are still some new arrivals whom Paula is greeting near the door. Somerset, in white tie and bright buttonhole and carrying his hat, comes away from having greeted Paula and her aunt. He goes to help himself to a glass of wine from a nearby table, and as he does, Mr. Havel comes up to him.
Well, Mr. Somerset, I see that we two are to be rivals.
Well, we are in competition, yes.
I'm glad that the young lady saw sense at last.
Sense at... Have you been briefed as to the particulars, Mr. Havel?
Yes, but I dare say not as thoroughly as you have been briefed, eh?
Somerset, nettled, puts his wineglass down.
I beg your pardon?
Havel swaps his empty glass for another full one from the collection of full glasses on the table. He waves his other hand airily.
Oh, don't worry. I'm nothing if not discreet. Discretion being the better part of...
What, Mr. Havel? What is there to be discreet about?
Havel looks over at Charlotte.
Oh, I must just go and have a word with Miss Distancy. To the Victor the Laurels, eh, Somerset? The Victor the Laurels, eh?
He wanders off, leaving Somerset fuming. The company, which has now swelled a little, is spilling out through the French windows onto the big lawn where there is a drinks tent with its walls rolled up, being manned by liveried footmen. There is also a larger marquee next to it, with its walls also looped up and the dance floor visible within. People stand around in little knots chatting and drinking. There is a string quartet playing Mozart in the corner by some shrubs. Paula comes up to Somerset and introduces him to various knots of people. Havel is sitting on a bench, sipping champagne, when Dyer comes and sits down next to him. Dyer takes out and hands over a wallet. Havel takes it back, looking a bit puzzled.
Oh, thank you. Where did I...
It fell from your pocket in the drawing room.
Ah. Well, thanks again. Dyer, isn't it?
And you are the architect who has been challenged by a rival, I hear. And has been writing nasty letters about this castle's owner's taste in architecture to newspapers.
Havel shoots to his feet.
How dare you impugn me, sir?
Dyer sprawls back on the bench, spreading out his legs and admiring his own shoes.
Oh, that's easy. I just read the page which fluttered from your pocketbook and is now lodged firmly within my own pocket.
Well, it's a... You see,
Oh, it's all right, Havel. Look, do sit down. Look, you don't want Somerset to win, and neither do I. You want his architect's role for yourself. and I want his lover's role for another.
Havel sits down and looks interested.
Another? Not yourself.
Good grief, no. The maid is yet to be born who could seduce me, and it's certainly not that purse-proud young miss. Anyway, she's interested in the young pup, Somerset.
I can't help you there, and will just have to do my own best in the architecture competition.
Dare stands up.
You're wrong there, Havel. You will copy his drawings and then improve on them a little. Meanwhile, I will have to cause a coolness between them both, I think.
Havel stands up.
Copy his drawing?
Dare gets out and swings some keys tantalizingly in the air.
I have his office keys.
I say, Dare, that's pretty audacious.
Dare walks away.
Nothing ventured.
Around 24 or so dancers are dancing quadrilles, and there are another 20 or so people standing watching or sitting at small tables around the periphery of the dance floor. Somerset espies Paula, who is, for once, not surrounded by people talking with her. He quickly approaches her.
Have you a dance for me, Miss Power?
Oh, I hardly feel at liberty.
Why?
My father never liked the idea.
Did he make you promise on that point?
Not actually promise, but...
Then just this once?
She bites her lip. Somerset grabs her hand and draws her into a set which is just forming near to them. He dances with her ecstatically. She smiles a little at his enjoyment.
This is the happiest moment I've ever known. Do you know why?
Paula peers out through a gap in the tent opening as they whirl by.
I think I saw some lightning.
The dance finishes and they retire to the back of the tent. There is another flash of lightning and Paula lifts the tent back door flap.
I must go to the drawing room. They will start to leave shortly.
Shall we go into the fresh air for a minute?
Paula nods.
It's certainly getting stifling in here.
Somerset and Paula wander out onto the lawn and start walking across its great expanse.
I feel more at ease now.
So do I.
I mean, because I saw my aunt go into the tent, and so I can relinquish my responsibilities for a minute.
I meant something quite different. Can you guess what?
Suddenly, big drops of rain start to fall and they quickly become worse.
Raining.
They dash for a convenient summer house by the lawn's edge. Somerset and Paula arrive, breathless and standing just within the threshold.
We cannot leave for the house and we cannot call for umbrellas. We will stay here until it's over, will we not?
If you care to,
What?
Paula smiles ruefully and wipes her head.
Sorry, just some water on my head.
He takes her hand.
Here now, move further inside.
They move further back and remain holding hands and watching the dancing going on through the half-open tent flaps across the lawn. The rain carries on pelting down.
May I call you Paula?
Well, occasionally, in private.
You do know I love you.
She gives an arch smile.
I can give a shrewd guess.
And will you love me?
Paula shrugs.
Don't you love me in return?
You may love me, if you want. I mean, I like to be loved.
Somerset leans towards her to kiss her.
No!
Why not?
No one ever has. Look, we must go in. The rain has almost stopped, and there is no need for this.
She leaves, rapidly, and Somerset follows her.
That was an episode of The Laodicean. I would like to thank the amazing cast for this episode. Caro Joy, Catherine Dyer, Neal Highley, John Simpson, Tony Lee, Scott Monroe, James Heseltine, Jonty O'Callaghan, Jenny Dyer, Stephan, John Seal, Peter Allison, Robin Lee, and Tracy Hays. I would also like to thank our brilliant, patient, and multi-talented editor, David Harris, for all of his hard work and patience on this. The music is from Epidemic Sound and is The English Affair by Harper-Barnes. Anyways, see you next time, gentlefolk.